Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for the people that have been here before, it's been quite a while. I have been missing probably close to 2 years now. I haven't even checked. I haven't even been on the channel for a while. I tried to semi-keep up with emails. I think I might have missed a couple, but a lot has been going on. For everyone that might be new here, welcome. I am just going to do a reintroduction of the channel. My plan always has been to sort of refresh the channel and reintroduce it and myself once I qualified and graduated, but there's a bit of a delay in those plans, so I'm doing it now. So not gonna do a full channel refresh, but I thought a reintroduction is well overdue. So, hi, my name is Nina. I am a final year vet student at the University of Pretoria on the Onderstepoort campus, and I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of backstory and what has been going on and where I've been and hopefully what the plan might be going forward. This is feeling so freaky and new. I've actually recorded probably 3 or 4 videos in the past 2 years, and every time I recorded one, something horrible happened and the recording did not make it even to editing. So yeah, a little bit nervous. Feels like it's a little bit jinxed at this point, but we're powering through. Like I said, my name is Nina. I have wanted to be a vet since I was literally a little girl. I think I was 3 years old and I would watch my mom save the little baby birds from the garden and we'd raise them and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing that has ever existed. And I remember we'd take our pets to the vet and I'd see the vets and be like, oh my gosh, these people are superheroes. And I think it was for my preschool graduation, you know, where you finish grade R and you're going to the big kids school in first grade soon, and you know, they have little graduation, you have like the little painted toilet paper roll thing. And my mom asked me, okay, so they're gonna ask you what you want to be one day, so what do you want to be? And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I knew about teachers and policemen and doctors, and I was like, I don't like any of those. So what could I do? I was like, no, but I want to work with animals, so what jobs can I do with animals? She was like, well, you could be a vet. I was like, what? People can do that? Normal people get to do that? That's so insane. And so from there on, my mind was absolutely made up that I was going to be a vet and absolutely nothing was going to sway me. So from that point onward, I worked as hard as I could. I made sure to get a lot of exposure at vets and, you know, worked very hard in school. And I was blessed enough to be able to get into first year directly from high school, which I am so absolutely grateful for. So I matriculated in 2018, and then in 2019 I started with first year on main campus. Luckily, it went relatively smoothly. Almost completely lost everything with chemistry. It has never been my strong suit. It still isn't, but it doesn't matter anymore. And luckily I pulled through. Made it through to second year in 2020, which then obviously came with a whole new set of challenges. So second year is hard enough with anatomy and physiology, and it was literally, I think, half an hour after my anatomy semester test that we got the news that campus was closing. I remember we were all standing in front of the anatomy hall on our phones, watching the news articles come in, waiting to see if campus would be closed before we actually had to write the test, because we got the news that main campus was closed, but not Onderstepoort yet, so we were all like, can we just go home? Can we leave? And no, we had to write the test. I'm pretty sure I failed that one, so that was unfortunate, but I did end up making it through the year. But with COVID, obviously there came a lot of challenges. Our second year class also wasn't in Rays because they were renovating Rays. So we got set up quite badly, and there was obviously a lot of confusion because I feel like most of what happens at OP gets communicated in Rays through the older students and younger students, and there is a lot of community that goes on in campus. and obviously we weren't on campus. I was also not a race student, but even the race students weren't in race with the other students, so we were removed from campus, removed from all the other students. We had no idea what was going on. It was our first year actually studying at Onderstepoort. There was a lot of confusion, and I just decided that it was absolutely ridiculous. And so I decided to start this channel and to basically just be able to show people what happened with us. Because things obviously were very strange during the pandemic, but it still gave an idea of what we were going through, and a lot of the things, might stay the same. So it just showed people a little bit of what they could expect because we were so left in the dark. So it was quite scary. This is not something that I am naturally inclined to do. So it was an interesting setup, but I'm very grateful that I did it. And over the years, I have heard a lot of stories about how it has helped people. And honestly, I've always told people that if one video that I make can help one other student, then the whole channel has served its purpose. So that's also why I'm back now, because I feel like there is still a lot that can be shared and talked about and explained and shown. So yeah, here we are. Somehow made it through second year, and the pandemic came with a lot of challenges. Made it to third year. Third year I feel like was even more difficult. I feel like every year becomes a little bit more difficult, but we also become so much more adapted to it. So I will say that the studies did become easier for me as I progressed through them, just because I was getting so used to struggling that I wasn't bothered by struggling anymore. But third year was quite a unique year in that we were adjusting back from having everything online to having assessments on campus again, so it was a lot of confusion. We were definitely not used to needing to memorize things anymore. Definitely showed up in several of our marks. I know toxicology almost halved our class, so they had to end up putting in an extra semester test just to get everyone's marks up a bit again. Did not help much for me, but I still made it, passed somehow, very grateful. Made it to fourth year, which I honestly was one of my favorite years, although it did come with a lot of challenges. So in fourth year, my now husband and I were living together. We actually also got engaged when I was fourth year, and was absolutely amazing. I am still so elated over it, and it's been years. But we were also living together off campus, and people love to talk about the costs of the studies, but honestly the living costs are a lot higher, I feel. So I decided to get a part-time job to help us out financially and also to build up some experience. So I ended up literally spur of the moment stopping by a vet practice on the way back home from an exam. That went very well, and I was feeling very excited, so I was like, I'll even drop off my CV somewhere. And I happened to walk into the practice on the exact same day that one of their other nurses let them know that she was leaving. So I had excellent timing, and I was very luckily appointed. I sort of had a very similar position as a nurse, even though I'm not a nurse, but I had a very similar position. And so I would spend my mornings at OP having classes from 8 until 1, and then I would go and work from 2 until closing, which was anywhere from 6:30 until 8, or sometimes even 9 o'clock. So it was quite intense, and then after that I would go home, I would have a quick half-an-hour dinner and chat with my husband, and then I would go on and study and work on my assignments and do my quizzes and all the things. So I was very happy. I built up a lot of great experience. I absolutely loved the work, but unfortunately, the whole setup was obviously quite stressful. I was in high stress situations 24/7, and the work environment, unfortunately, was also not very good. And that led to me burning out quite badly, quite quickly. So after I started working about in the middle of the year, I think it was June, July, and all of my marks, by some miracle, started to climb after I started working. I think just a bit more of the practical experience might have helped, except for my equine studies mark. That definitely dipped down low, and it wasn't high enough to be able to afford a dip at all. So that unfortunately led to me having quite a low year mark, and then my burnout hit an absolute low point just before the exam, where I was so exhausted I could not even finish reading a sentence. So obviously the exam went extremely badly. I think I got 25%. So somehow I got let in for the supplementary, and even though I improved a lot, I almost doubled my mark, but I did not double my mark, so I still did not pass, and I ended up needing to repeat the year, which was very rough. It was definitely something that I struggled with because I'd never failed an exam, I'd never even had a supplementary before, and now I had to repeat a whole year. And how it worked from 4th year onwards was that if you fail a module, you have to repeat that module as well as any other modules that you get less than 65% for. So I only had to repeat 3 modules, but only 2 at a time. So I had to repeat equines and then small animal medicine and surgery, which was split into 2 separate semesters. So I had to do those 3, and so I was set up for quite a laid-back year, except for the fact that I had to repeat the busiest modules, so still did not get a lot of rest. The burnout did continue to climb quite a lot, and I was declining a lot. I had a lot of brain fog, a lot of memory loss. I was exhausted all the time. My immunity absolutely dropped. I think in the span of 2 months, I had 2 upper airway infections and a middle ear infection, and one of the infections was like a combo of middle ear and upper ears. It was a big mess. So eventually we figured out that it was very bad burnout, and so started slowly working on that. Then a year after I had started working at that practice, I let them know that I was planning to leave at the end of the year, because I was still very naive, and I thought that I was doing a very kind thing by giving them time to find someone to replace me, because I knew one of the other nurses was also leaving. And about 2 weeks later, I walked back into my house 6 o'clock at night after a trip with my parents on a Sunday night, and I got a call from my manager telling me that I do not need to come in tomorrow, and they'll see if they can make a plan to get me my last paycheck. So yeah, very unfortunate end to that part of my journey. Like I said, I absolutely loved the work, but it was not a very good work environment, and especially now that I've worked at other practices and seen other practices. And just after that, my husband and I also got married. Definitely one of the best days of my life. It was incredible. I think we had 20 or 24 or something guests. It was beautiful, perfect, amazing. Very glad that we were able to make the most of that year, despite the setback that it caused. I then progressed to 5th year, which the first semester was my very last semester of theory. I was so excited. We also had feedlot, which I was not very excited for. I did not love the idea of feedlot, and I did not love feedlot itself a lot. It was fun, it just, production is not at all my cup of tea. So, but it's a very big OP thing. I feel very bad for, I think it's class of 2026 that did not have feedlot. Feel very bad for them because it is an experience and it is something that you get to enjoy with your friends. But we did have feedlot and it was fun. Like I said, not my cup of tea, but did learn a lot of things and we still had a lot of fun. And I feel like it was one of the years that I was the most confident in all my modules. There wasn't one that I was particularly worried about failing or that I was at particular risk of failing. Obviously, it was still a lot of hard work. But the fact that it was only one semester was also a massive motivation. And so completed the semester, and the same day that I got my marks for my final exams telling me that I've passed everything and that I'm progressing to clinics, I also got another result that told me that I was expecting our beautiful little baby. So I mean, now I'm absolutely elated. At the time, I might have been a little bit shocked and a little bit panicky and a little bit furious. I remember we had taken our class photos back when we were 5th year, and we were standing in line and one of the girls went, "No, but wouldn't it be really awkward if, if you don't make it and then you have your class photo but it's with the wrong year?" And I was like, listen, I have repeated a year and I'm done with that. I'm not doing that again. There is absolutely nothing that can cause me to not graduate with class of 2025. class of 2025 has graduated, I'm still here. So I do find it very funny now. But like I said, it was an emotionally charged time period. The issue that came with it was that Onderstepoort doesn't have a lot of regulations in place for pregnant students or families or anything like that. The only rule they really had at the time, I've heard it might have changed, but the only rule they had at the time was that you are not allowed to participate in clinics past 6 months of pregnancy. So I was quite furious, because if that had happened at any other point of my studies, then I probably would have been able to adjust things in a way that it would not necessarily have needed to affect the timeline. It might have been a good idea to adjust the timeline for it, but at least I would have had the choice, and now I had absolutely no choice, and my degree that I was so absolutely excited for and only 6 months away from had to be postponed by another year. So yeah, that is part of the reason why I have been missing. I have been quite upset with the degree for a while. Back then, I feel a lot better now. But yeah, I was very upset with Onderstepoort and this degree, and yeah, it was quite a discouraging time period, because I was like, I've worked this hard and, you know, I don't really have anything to show for it. If something were to happen and I were unable to continue studying, I would have studied for 7 years and there would be no official qualification behind my name. Worked so hard and put in so much effort, and still I get held back. Like, there was a lot of frustration going with it. And so I had a meeting with the module coordinator for clinics, and basically I was given 2 options, that either I could take a year off from that point and start with the class of 2026 with their clinics, or I could do 6 months of clinics, which would put me at like 6 months and a few days of pregnancy, which they were like, oh, you know, we can make a plan with that. And then I take a year off and then continue with the last year of clinics after my year off. But either way, I was finishing with class of 2026, and I was very frustrated and upset, but I decided that, you know what, I am too close to stop right now. I am going to start with my clinics. I am so excited for them. I've been waiting for this for so long. I was literally like giddy excited, jumping up and down, squealing excited to start with clinics and to progress with my degree. So I was like, you cannot tell me that I cannot start now. So I decided to start with clinics. If anyone ever thinks about planning a pregnancy to overlap with clinics, I definitely would not recommend. It was a very, very, very bad idea. I am now grateful that I did it, so that I had more time with my baby, but it was very rough. I also had quite an unfortunate pregnancy. I was very nauseous. If I remember correctly, I threw up on the minibus from Mamelodi the one day. Yeah, it was not good. I was not in a good position to be running after clinicians in the hospital. I obviously could not attend any MRIs or radiographs or anything like that, could not touch any of the chemo patients. So it definitely had quite an effect, and I was very exhausted all the time. Yeah, no, it's not a good combo, but like I said, I'm very glad that I did it now. I finished my first semester of clinics, so proud of myself for that, because that was tough. I had a week of holiday clinics that went over Christmas. I had my year off, had a couple of months of just staying at home before our beautiful baby girl was born, and she is just the absolute most amazing thing that has ever come across this planet. I'm going to try and not elaborate too much, because I could literally gush about her for hours. She is beautiful, she is smart, she is so absolutely incredible, she is intuitive, she is, oh, she's perfect. She's the light of my life. I'm so in love with her. Anyway, I'm also like a little bit emotional at the moment. I've been back at clinics for a while now, and this is my first week that I've been able to spend some time with her again, like properly, not just mornings and bedtimes. So I'm a little bit emotional, but it's good. So we had our beautiful baby girl, and I had an incredible year away from OP. I was able to spend a lot of time with my husband, and I went to all of his airsoft games with baby in tow. We went on as many adventures as we could. When I was about 3 months postpartum, I ended up getting a part-time job again at a different practice where I basically just did reception work for 3 to 4 hours a day. That was absolutely incredible because it gave me just a little bit of, it just kept me in touch with the world that I was trying to go back into eventually. It also helped a lot with my client interactions and building my skills in that aspect. So I'm so grateful for it. Also, obviously, helped out a lot financially. Pregnancy is expensive, giving birth is expensive, and having a baby is expensive. So yeah, but it was a wonderful team that I worked with, incredible doctors, wonderful management, reception team, all of them, loved all of it, loved the nurses. Yeah, it was an absolute blessing. I think that year completely revitalized me. It gave me a lot of time to just breathe and do things at my own pace. It also gave me a lot of time to spend with my baby and watch her grow and watch her become this, you know, go from this little wiggly lump to this whole real person. So I am so absolutely grateful for the year, and everyone in it, everyone that made it possible. It was quite rough to go back to clinics, especially we had some complications going on when I had to go back for my first week. But we've made it through the first almost 3 months now, about 2.5 months now, and I'm still here, and honestly I've been loving it. I've been loving it more than I've ever loved it before. So far this year I've had Spay Week, Pigs and Poultry, small animal surgery, equine medicine, and diagnostic imaging, and it's definitely gone very well. Like I said, having the increased client skills has helped me a lot. Just being a little bit refreshed has helped. It has been very difficult to go from not having touched a lot of the work to being thrown headfirst into it. I did try to revise a lot of the work before I came, but it was not realistic to do all of it. I also did continue working on my research assignment when I was on my leave of absence. I've enjoyed getting to know the new students because obviously I'm in a brand new year. I don't know anyone. So I did meet a couple of students as I did private prac weeks at the practice that I was working at. The university got a new system. They used to have UVIS when I was there last, and now they have VetView. I feel so old because we'll be having conversations and they'll be talking about how things work, and I'll be like, yeah, in my days we did it this way. But since I last did clinics, it was a year. Luckily, everyone has been incredibly helpful and kind, and I mean, I've had a lot of issues with OP as an institution, but most of the individuals working there are absolutely incredible and they have been so helpful. I have surprisingly enjoyed equines a lot. Everyone really scared me off equines, but it was really, really nice. The hours are just obviously very, very difficult. Especially with a baby at home. I missed her so much the 2 weeks that I had equines because it's very long shifts. I missed so many bedtimes. I missed so much of everything. But it's okay, we made it through, and this is just 1 year. So that is where I've been. I have been incredibly busy, I've been incredibly stressed. We also moved while I was pregnant. We moved to a new flat so that we had an extra bedroom for the baby. So it has been insanely busy. Also, I did want to protect our privacy around the pregnancy and so on quite a bit. I never thought about privacy much because I have never had a very big viewing audience, and the thing is that most of my audience are all centered at OP. So I was like, you know, it's pretty focused. It's a bunch of people I know. Until there have been a couple of incidences where I was unable to have conversations with people because anything I said they already knew. I remember having a conversation with another student once, and I was like, oh hey, I'm Nina. They're like, I know. Okay, cool. You know, a couple of sentences further, yo, I'm fifth year now. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. You know, I was, actually, it was going to be final year now, but I ended up, yeah, you repeated equines. I'm like, so I tried to be more private during that time specifically, and then also when I was off during my leave of absence, there wasn't much to show veterinary related, and I'm not very interested in showing much of my private life anyway. This is a veterinary channel, and then clinics is also just extremely busy, a lot of running around, and there's also the issue of client and patient confidentiality and privacy and all that. So I have been trying to get videos together and be able to give you guys an idea of what clinics are like without breaching anyone's privacy or confidentiality or anything like that, and also obviously not affecting my work because I'm busy filming instead of doing things. So I do have a couple of videos filmed. Hopefully I have time to edit them and get them out to you guys, but I really do want to get this channel started again and give people a glimpse into OP and show you guys what I do and what it's like. And hopefully by the end of this year I will be graduated, and next year I have my CCS post that I'm very excited for, and we'll be moving all the way across the country, which is a whole other stress factor. And then I can bring you guys along and show you guys what my post is like. Posts vary a lot from what I've heard. But yeah, I would really love to get back into this. But we'll see how realistically that works out. Clinics have definitely been keeping me running around, and the time that I have off I love spending with my family, so we'll see. But I definitely want to try and make the most of this channel. But I hope you guys enjoyed my little recap, my welcome back to myself, and to you guys, welcome back to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon with the next video. Bye guys!